Welcome back to BLOCKTV, where it is time for Cryptonomics. And today, more news from Binance, which seems to be churning out those breaking headlines and announcements weekly as of late. The crypto exchange, one of the largest and most prominent, announced early Monday morning that as of this week, specifically tomorrow, holders of Binance Coin, BNB, and Ethereum Classic and Tether will be able to lend their assets and earn interest through Binance's new service called Binance Lending. Now, the launch is another move of Binance in its bid to diversify its business lines to attract and retain users weeks after it formally rolled out margin trading and borrowing in July and revealed plans to add futures trading on its platform. Joining me in studio to make sense of it all and break it down is BLOCKTV's Asher Westrop-Evans, senior correspondent. Great to have you.
My pleasure.
And with us also from New York City will be chiming in Celsius CEO, none other than Alex Mashinsky. Great to have you with us as well, Alex.
Thanks for having me.
Lovely to have you. Now, Asher, I'm going to start with you so you help explain what this means. The detail of this announcement, the parameters of this new service, the percentage, the margins, please.
Right. So, I mean, it is an interesting one because there are some distinct details being laid out which make this different from some of the competitors out there in the field. So, notably, as you already mentioned, we're talking about BNB, Tether, and Ethereum Classic as the three tokens they're starting with. Perhaps the first two making the most sense. Ethereum Classic, a bit of an interesting one.
Why?
I'm not entirely sure at this stage why they've chosen to go with that. Maybe Alex has some more information on why that would be a preferable coin, but we'll get to that in a moment. As it stands, as you said, August 28th at 6 a.m. UTC, they will be launching the service. At the moment, so they're putting hard caps on the amount that they're being able to lend out. So we're talking for BNB, 200,000 total Binance coin will be available, with individual caps at 500 BNB per user. And their annualized interest rate, the rate of return, a whopping 15%. That's a pretty staggering statistic they're offering. Obviously, it's on their own native coin, but pretty staggering amounts to be returning, not something you'll be able to get in most other places, certainly in this economy.
And that's the million-dollar question, right? In how did they come to that return number, so to speak?
It'll be interesting to see. I mean, as I said, they're doing this in a hard cap, so maybe this is sort of a get people on board, an onboarding sort of exercise, and they'll return it later. It'll be the economics of how this is all going to play out is quite interesting, but as I said, they're keeping it relatively small at this stage. Just to round out what the other coins will be doing, Tether, a hard cap of 10 million with a 10% return, still much better than you're getting in most returns in the open market with fiat currency. So interesting. And Ethereum Classic maxed out at 20,000 Ethereum Classic and an annualized interest rate return of 7%. So still some pretty healthy yields being offered right there. Being offered right there, and they're right now,
of the lending players in the field. Needless to say, Celsius and Genesis have the highest volume with 65% of loan origination per, a report that was published just 2 days ago. Different, of course, form of lending, Alex. But first of all, Alex Mashinsky, as we said, Celsius CEO with us. What do you make of this Binance announcement and the yield that they're promising?
Well, first, after extracting over 700 million in profit last year from its community, it's good to see that Binance is finally trying to give something back, but we all know that this is just a marketing gimmick. It's capped. The total value of this entire promotion is $1.4 million. If you do the math of calculating the coins time the valuation of each coin, and it's really a lottery. So basically, the first few hundred people who are going to press the computer as fast as possible are going to get in, and everybody else has to wait until next week until the lottery resets. And hopefully a different set of 100 or 200 people get in. So this is not a promise to unbank yourself like Celsius is doing, right? Celsius does not have caps. So you can come and deposit millions of dollars with Celsius and you're gonna earn exactly the same interest that somebody who deposits $10 does. So there's a big difference between trying to kind of, unseat the banks and between trying to just either retain or gain a few new customers. Celsius gets a lot of customers from all different exchanges, and it's because these exchanges have not done a good job of acting in their customers' best interest, right? I mean, the reason people leave or move their coins from exchanges is because these exchanges don't do what's in the customer
Let me play.
best
I know, but
interest.
let me play devil's advocate for a second. Unseating the banks, which
Sure.
you are claiming is your agenda. Amen to that. And CZ would say the same about himself. Hype, needless to say, something that is prevalent throughout the sphere. But what's wrong with unseating the banks the way he's trying to do it?
Well, he's not. He's not helping people earn a return, right? I mean, if Binance has 1 million customers, again, 100 people are going to fill up this quota of 1.4 million in total, right? The reason they did not include BTC and ETH is because those are the most common coins. So effectively, BNB, CZ is the largest holder of BNB, and he's promoting other people to buy his own coin and make him even more rich than he is. That has nothing to do with unseating the banks or bringing the power back to the people. Bringing the power back to the people is having them earn money on their money. And that is through hodling and through interest income. And they're not doing either. Ether Classic is not a common coin. BNB is not a common coin either. So again, Celsius, 70% of our holdings are in BTC and another 15% are in Ether. Those are the two biggest things that we pay. We paid more interest than the entire Binance program, right? We pay more in interest than the entire Binance program.
And actually,
so just to put things in perspective.
No, putting in perspective, I'm quoting you, Celsius paid more in earned BTC and Ether than anyone, returning up to 80%. If you had a chance, before I will move to Asher, CZ is going to hold an AMA very early in the morning, tomorrow morning, Beijing time, obviously leading up to this launch. What would you ask him?
Well, look, the purpose of cryptocurrencies and this community was all about giving people an alternative. And yes, there are speculators who need to trade, but that is not the main purpose of cryptocurrencies. For me, the main purpose is enabling people to have a financial future, enabling them to see the light at the end of the tunnel as they work really hard and earn their money so they can have return on their money. And I think Binance needs to do more of that and less of the trading and speculating and arbitrage. So, that's our focus, that's our mission. And it's good to see that we, after a year with over 20,000 Bitcoin and 150,000 Ether, are finally the big guys have realized that they have to do something as well to return the rewards back to their community. So it's good to see some action, but this is nothing. This is not, Binance can do 10 times more than what they did here. They can do 100 times more than what they did here. And I urge CZ to, instead of pocketing all that cash, like Celsius, give 80% back to the community. That would be a bold move.
That would be a bold move, needless to say, but hopefully we'll get to speak to CZ about that. Asher, though, some questions.
So I suppose just to make a point first to Alex's statements there, I mean, it's an interesting notion we were talking about the exchanges taking control of the financial space. This is still a very new space, and while we do have players like Genesis, like BlockFi, like Celsius, all in there developing some of these services, the exchanges certainly are looking to take a slice of this pie and looking to, as they have been, expand their services to become the sort of one-stop shop for crypto users, so that people don't go off the app, don't go off the service. And I think that this is just another step for Binance in trying to attempt to be that one-stop shop. And I suppose to ask you, Alex, I would wonder, do you have concerns that will potentially push you out of the industry, players such as yourself, when these exchanges do attempt to be the one-size-fits-all, one-stop shop for everyone attempting to use crypto services?
Not at all. Look, if we continue to do more for our customers, then customers will continue coming to us. To differentiate us from everybody else you just mentioned, we pay interest on deposits. Genesis doesn't do that. BlockFi started doing that just a few months ago, and they only do it on BTC. We pay interest on 20 different coins, the top 20, right? So no one is doing that in the world still, right? After 2 years that Celsius was created, no one has yet to match what we've provided. So if somebody wants to do better than Celsius and try to steal our customers, they're going to have to pay more than 80%. No one in their right mind will pay that kind of amount of money to their customers, not the banks, not the exchanges, not the fat cats, because they all got used to earning too much cash. So I'm not worried at all. We are, if anything, after the Binance announcement, we've seen a huge spike because everybody started looking at this lending business and realized, oh, wait a second, there are people who are much better than Binance, and they pay us continuously on 20 different coins. Who needs Ethereum Classic if I can actually deposit Ethereum, Bitcoin, Litecoin, and so on with no limits, no caps, and I get paid the interest every week without any lottery or without hoping that I will wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and click on the computer first.
And maybe not Binance. Let me ask you this. There's a report circulating that Coinbase is rumored to be releasing a similar product of its own in the coming months. I'm quoting this report out of Coindesk. Actually, leverage will soon become a matter of table stakes, they say, forcing operators to expand their horizon. First of all, have you heard of Coinbase's reported wish to do the same thing, aka releasing a similar product? And is that of a concern to companies such as yourself?
Not at all. Again, none of these exchanges are doing this to actually create yield for their customers. They're doing this as a marketing ploy. And after their customers tried a few times and realized that they can't really match the game, or they cannot participate because these programs are very, very limited. All these exchanges have billions in assets. So creating a program that is $1, $2, $3 million obviously is not going to create enough room for anyone to participate. So all that does, it creates more awareness. And when people do their homework, they're going to find out that we still pay more on more coins than anybody else. Actually, we paid more interest on BTC than all the other guys put together. Okay, so I'm not worried at all. The opposite. I think we're going to have record numbers. We just announced we had 2,265% growth in 11 months. I don't see any slowdown. If anything, I'm just seeing acceleration.
Acceleration. Alex Mashinsky joining us from the East Coast in New York, CEO of Celsius. Thank you for this input. I hope CZ answers himself this time around. This was Cryptonomics. Asher with me also. Needless to say, tomorrow morning, we're taping this on a Tuesday tomorrow morning. This is happening when it comes to Binance. Will be interesting to see what that AMA will be saying. You will be all over it.
We certainly will. We'll be looking forward to seeing what comes out of it.
Exactly. We were BLOCKTV. We'll be right back.
For more news and updates, follow us on Twitter.